While many fans are aware of the various deleted scenes and alternate cuts from the sequels, few seem to have any insight on Jurassic Park's own deleted scenes that got cut from the film. Most of these happen to be longer versions of sequences that were probably cut for pacing, but one of them stands out as being an answer to something that the audience would kind of get left in the dark on. This scene would give us a very clear reason as to why the Triceratops that Alan Grant and the others meet up with on the tour is extremely sick, and would also serve as another small moment to educate the audience on the dinosaurs' connection with modern-day birds. After Dr. Sattler's famous examination of the dinosaurs' droppings, she was supposed to have an extended conversation with Grant on the oddity of this animal bearing symptoms of meliotoxicity, despite no traces of lilac berries being found in its stool. Dr. Harding's insistence that the animals continue to get sick like this every 6 weeks confuses them further, as grazing animals wouldn't show a pattern of illness. If their sickness came from their food source, then these constantly grazing dinosaurs would constantly be sick. This would lead into a part of the film where Tim would pick up a smooth stone that he'd discovered in the Trike's enclosure before bringing it to Dr. Grant to analyze. Grant, of course, would show signs of being extremely annoyed at the kid and even roll his eyes at the possibility of him having anything of value to offer. Tim would insist, though, that he's seen that type of rock before in Alan's book, which gives Ellie the final piece of this not-so-complicated puzzle. Dr. Sattler's eyes would have immediately lit up as she'd recognize the rocks to be gizzard stones, before throwing one to Alan for him to be equally amazed at. The pair would excitedly talk over each other on how this explains the periodicity and undigested state of the berries, as their consumption would be totally incidental and unrelated to a normal feeding pattern. A confused Tim would play the role of the audience and ask what the two are talking about, prompting Ellie to explain it in full. Some animals, like this Triceratops, don't have teeth. These animals swallow the stones and hold them in a muscular sac in their stomachs in order to mash up their food so that it's easy to digest. But after a while, the stones get smooth, and every 6 weeks, the animals regurgitate them and begin to swallow fresh ones. When the Trikes swallow the stones, they accidentally swallow the poisonous berries too, and this is what makes them periodically sick. After delivering the answer, Gennaro would hear the loud sound of thunder, prompting everyone to get back into the Ford Explorers, with the exception of Dr. Sattler, who chose to stay with the Triceratops. The deletion of this scene is an unfortunate one, but in the long run, it wasn't wholly necessary to further the story along. The presentation of the sick Triceratops has always served its purpose in showing how complicated John Hammond's theme park really was, and how little the people running it knew about their dinosaurs. I'm going to assume that it was ultimately cut for pacing reasons, similar to other deleted scenes in the first movie, but I can't deny that I would have really loved to have been given an explanation on why it was sick when I was a kid. It's very possible that the scene may have come off as a little too Magic School Bus with its scientific explanation to the audience, but still, I think many people wouldn't have minded it. And I think seeing more of Grant and Sattler's on-screen chemistry would have even been welcome to some extent. This scene is actually lifted directly from the novel, where a Stegosaurus is used instead of a Triceratops in a nearly identical scenario. Spielberg's substitution for this other herbivore probably stemmed from Triceratops being his personal favorite dinosaur. A good choice if I say so myself, and one that ultimately led to an iconic movie moment. Scientifically speaking though, this would have made Jurassic Park a little less realistic than its scripted intention. After one considers the reality that Triceratops actually did have teeth. In fact, the dinosaur had teeth that were extremely specialized in slicing through food that it chewed. These teeth were actually self-wearing, meaning that the animal could easily file them down to cut through any sort of vegetation the creatures saw fit. Some people have actually brought the idea forward that the Triceratops may have swallowed its older teeth to use within its gizzard instead of swallowing stones, making them even more impressive, but this isn't exactly proven fact as far as I know. Nevertheless, many long-necked sauropods are believed to have swallowed gastroliths in order to better digest their food, so Jurassic Park wouldn't have been entirely wrong in the grand scheme of things, but pretty inaccurate as far as the Trike is concerned. Now, this scene was actually shot for the film in its entirety, and does indeed exist in some way, shape, or form in some dark closet or room somewhere, but unfortunately, much like Peter Ludlow breaking the infant Tyrannosaur's leg in the second film, it's never been released in any form to the public. Hopefully someday we'll be able to view this scene alongside all of the others that were left out of the film, if we're lucky anyways. Before I go, I just want to say that it's awesome to have so many of you watch what I make, and I can't thank you enough for all of the continued support. I've got a lot of stuff planned for 2018 and beyond, with a ton of these projects being worked on even now as I speak. But with all of the copyright stuff that happens to come up once a month or so, manually might I add, on Universal's behalf, I'd be lying if I didn't admit to having had setbacks doing some of this stuff. Many of you have wondered why I don't have a Patreon in order to prevent stuff like that from happening, and you know what, that actually made me wonder the same thing. It's not completed just yet because I want to make sure it'll be worth it for you guys, but yeah, I actually am in the process of making one. Thought it would be kind of pointless without telling you all all, so I figured I'd go ahead and say it. Just remember, you don't have to give me anything. The content I make for you guys is always going to be free, but if you would like to support this channel, then that would be the best way to do it. Again, I want to thank you guys for taking the time to watch this video, and hope you all enjoy today's content. If you feel like I deserve it, I would appreciate the like, and if you haven't already, I hope you'll consider subscribing if you want to hear from me again. I'll see you all in the next video, guys, and as always, take it easy.